Hello, everybody. I gotta tell you a secret. Please don't judge me. I'm first time in Heartbeat International. So if anybody would tell me that I will work with women, I would laugh you in the face. Never in a million years I wanted to work with women. I never went to women Bible studies. I never liked women stuff, crying, complaining. No! So now you see God has a sense of humor, right? Absolutely. Thank you, Jesus, for not punishing me more. Oh, boy. You know, I was brought up in Christian home. My father was a pastor. And I'm a singer, actually. Maybe next time you let me sing, right? I traveled, I was singing since I was a little girl. At 13, I was singing solo in church choir, and then with my husband, he's a musician, we created a band, and we traveled all over former Soviet Union. We sang, we did all those evangelistic crusades. So life was good, even in Ukraine under Soviet government, right? Especially when it fell, then it was even better. But, and I thought, my ministry is singing to God, which is great. But you know what? Life went on, and in 1998, we moved to United States. I think everybody liked to move to United States, right? So we took a chance, and with my husband and with our at that time, 5-year-old daughter, we moved to United States. We started building our life. We had another girl, and I went to college, graduated college. We got jobs. Life was great. But you know what? Then we got pregnant with our third child. And I don't know what's with a man, but they want son, right? My husband was so happy to have a boy. And I remember when I told him that I'm pregnant, he was so happy, especially when we found out that this is a little boy. But when I was 18 and a half weeks pregnant, I started having contractions. And I went into labor. And I remember the time when we were driving to the hospital, and I was crying, and we prayed to God and said, Lord, why are you doing this? It's a term already. It's a long term, and how can you do it to us? Save our baby. We came to the hospital. We asked doctors to do something, but after 13 hours labor, I delivered a little baby boy. He was alive. The nurse brought him to us and told that you have an hour to say goodbye because he's too small, he won't survive. And I remember now his skin was so thin, I saw a little heart beating. And I remember now how his little hand was holding like this. And I never forget how my husband held his little son in his hand, and he was crying. He was so crying. We said goodbye, and they took him away. And from that time, our life changed forever. We came home with empty hands and with big hole in our heart. We didn't blame God. We were Christians. We knew that God has a purpose, but we didn't know what purpose it was yet. And then later, God blessed us with another son. His name is Johnny. He just celebrated his 16 years birthday. And when he was little, he was bragging in school. He said, I have a little baby brother, Jonathan, in heaven waiting for me. So, and after that, when Johnny was 2 months old, I was invited to go back to Ukraine after many years. I was invited to go and sing in Billy Graham Crusade. I love singing on a stadium. And I took this opportunity, and I told my husband, okay, I agreed, and Johnny will be 2 months old when I have to go. And he said, you want to go? I said, yes, I want to go. He said, okay. So I froze enough breast milk to last him for 9 days, got my breast pump, and went to Ukraine. So yes, and I remember in the hotel, I was so careful to save my milk so I could have, and when I came back actually, they had only one little bag left. Yes, they saw me on the driveway coming back and said, Nadia, go, come on, we need milk for the baby. So that was good. But you know what, this trip to Ukraine, and on this trip, when after the concert on a stadium, I met my old fan, my music friend. She came to me and she invited me to come again to Ukraine. And she invited me for concerts, but she didn't tell me exactly what that's going to be. And I thought, okay, if God's calling me come back to Ukraine, I'll go to back to my motherland. So I went back, and you know what I realized that I came to pro-life outreach concerts. And you know what? I sang. And after that, women and students start coming to me. And I found out these horrible statistics that I never knew. I lived in a Christian home. How would I know that from 800 to 1 million abortion per year in Ukraine? You know that Soviet Union was the first country in the world that legalized abortion in 1920 under the direction of Lenin. You know who is Lenin? Yes. That is a horrible practice that was started in Soviet Union under communism. So women in Ukraine use abortion as a method of contraception. And you know what? When I came back, I told my husband, now I understand why God put us through this horrible situation. When I saw 18 and a half weeks, beautifully formed baby, at the term in Ukraine, in my motherland, they tearing those babies apart from mother's womb, and they don't even call it baby, and they don't even know that it's a killing. So, long story short, God put burden on my heart, and I started going back to Ukraine every 6 months, every 4 months. We organized like a talk show. We went to colleges, university, and you know what? God started spreading. We got invited to different cities, and in 2015, it was like 6 years I traveled. But I did career in America, right? I ran medical practice, and you know what? I had to make decision in 2015 to quit my job, and in 2015, we opened our first pregnancy center in my hometown, and it was and we registered nonprofit organization here in the United States. And I tell you, 3 weeks later, we had a pregnant girl who came to us, 18 years old, with 9 months baby in a village that she left with parents. She ran away, and she was 4 months pregnant with a referral for abortion. She came to us, and now, this September, her little baby, Timothy, went to 1st grade. That was our first baby. After that, it was a train. You know, it was our life started like it's a train, and we tried to catch up. God started leading us. We opened one center, another, third, and we opened center in Poland. Now we have a maternity house in Poland, and we opened center in Philadelphia. So we opened 8 centers in Ukraine, 1 in Poland, 1 in Philadelphia, and then COVID started. We thought, you know what COVID was, right? Right? Really? Yes. And you know what? It's the first time. I was always proud of my team. We have over 150 volunteers. But you know what? Then when I saw how brave they are, they were distributing, they going to mothers' houses, distributing packages like all you did. I know that. And then the war started. And I stand today before all of you with a deep gratitude in my heart for the life and every blessing that more than a year ago I would not appreciate at all. But I do appreciate now. I appreciate that none of our volunteers died in this war. Even then, when deadly rockets started to kill my fellow citizens in Ukraine every day, I stand today with my deep gratitude to all my friends from Heartbeat International. From Heartbeat International family, I call you family now, for opening its arms and pouring your resources when Save a Life International needed it most. A year ago, we didn't know if we survive as an organization, as a nation, and as a country. But we saw and felt the outpouring of love, compassion, and care that our fellow brothers and sisters from Europe, you hear sisters, brothers from Europe, and from US showered on us. You are here today because you care. Do you care? Yes, you care. Care to make a difference in someone's life who is scared, who is disappointed, threatened, and in need of advice. There are many different reasons why you're here. Some of you maybe came here because of your sad experience with losing your child yourself. Some of you maybe went through abuse or deep hurt, and now you may spot easily when someone is hurting inside in silence, right? You could see, you could feel. Some of you just feel called by God to serve the women in crisis. But no matter what brought you here, you are the people who know how to give. You the people who know how to love. And quite often, it's not easy, right? Let's admit. Some people ask me, why did we go into the country in the war? Why we didn't run away, but instead increased our efforts to help mothers and to help women who need it most. I remember February 24, the day we heard that Ukraine was attacked. I remember when exactly where I was. We were sitting in the kitchen with my husband and we got the news. And we start calling congressmen, we start calling other people, calling people in Ukraine, and then I realized 4 o'clock afternoon and nobody even left the kitchen. We didn't even eat anything. And you know what? 6 days later, I was on the plane. March 1st, I was on the plane to Romanian border. I was on a plane and I met to meet my staff, my wonderful volunteers, my wonderful directors who were driving vans through the border, who were starting evacuate. We had a short meeting and I told girls, if you want to leave country, I'm not going to judge you. Go to safety. And all my leaders from every center said, we gotta stay. We are staying. We're going to help. You know what? Every time I said that, it breaks my heart. It warms me because I remember when I came to Romanian border and I met my Allah, we embraced. You know when you embrace a person in a different circumstances, there is a war. The bombs, we never knew if bombs not gonna hit us. And I remember time when we're driving the van, and I never forget this big line in the freezing in the Romanian border. And you know, once you go in this, it's like a cage. You go through the passport control, so you can't get out. And the freezing weather, and there's women's, babies, old ladies are standing, and they freezing, and they can't get out. They have to go through. And I remember we went with a humanitarian convoy inside of Ukraine, and we were driving back 11 o'clock at night, dark, and I see this line, and our cars are empty. So we got out of the car, and we start like, I don't know, I'm crazy a little bit, but I said like, come on. women and little babies, no older. And we start grabbing people, putting them in a van, one on the top of another. So I start driving. I didn't drive stick shift for a while, so I said, okay, I'm driving stick shift. So I get in the car, and I have a woman with me, young woman with her baby and her little sister. And we jammed her in the car, so we get passport. Do you have passport documents? So we go in through passport control. We passed. I said, do you know where you're going? And she said, I don't know. I said, okay, we're going to get you to refugee camp. So she recovered, and we had for a week, and then we sent her to Italy to relatives. So my point is, it was hard, but we adjusted. And even 2 months into the war, the mayor of the city calls us, Lviv, and said, listen, I know you were going to open the center here. We have a flood of refugees, a lot of pregnant women. We don't know what to do with them. Can you open center now? Imagine. Before the war, I would have had to call and ask and bribe, and so they would open our door. Now, government asking our help. And I have to and we opened new center in the middle of the war. And I'm so proud of my volunteers, how devoted they are. And one of our director, Elena, we have a Zaporizhia center where 200 kilometers from Russian border. That's where bombing started. And they were right on the front line. And she was 38-week pregnant with a baby, with her boy, and she has 2-year-old little Emma. So when bombing started, they couldn't get away because she has a condition she had to deliver by cesarean section in the hospital. And you know what? They had to hide for a whole week in the hole in the ground. Under the house, there's a little cellar. And so every time air raids, she had to go back and hide. So after that, Elena gave birth to baby Mark. And I remember she was calling and said, listen, pray so bombs wouldn't hit infrastructure, because light's going to go out in the hospital and my baby will die because he's on a ventilator. So we were praying that rockets wouldn't hit the hospital. But unfortunately, baby Mark survived, and they went into safety in western Ukraine. They recovered for a few months, and then they say, Nadia, I said, Elena, stay, recover. I don't require you to go. She said, no, I have to go back. Elena, after cesarean section, baby was in the hospital, and she was helping moms, because the single girls evacuating. I saw the picture, I said, what are you doing? And she said, who's going to help them? I have a husband, they don't have anyone. And they scared, and we had to actually put them in a car, shove them, and tell, get out of here because you're going to die. So now Elena went back, and they serving, and you know what? This center, they had 1 month, they had 3,000 phone calls, requests for help. Imagine how productive this center was in the middle of a danger. It is already a year since we live and work in these conditions. I just came back from Ukraine. I have seen many women affected by this horrible situation. 2 of our clients, unfortunately, died recently when Russian rocket hit an apartment building where she lived with her husband and 7-month-old baby, the baby we saved from abortion. So, but maybe I have to tell you something. Maybe we don't hear the rocket exploding over your heads. But don't forget, here there is still a war. You don't have to go to Ukraine. You still have a war here. There is invisible war among us every day that kills 100,000 of little citizens and scars their mothers forever. There is the war against brave women and men who dare to go in front of the abortion clinics and pray and talk with the women who are coming for abortion. I know that some of your centers were vandalized, the windows were broken because somebody disagreed with you. Today, I would like to speak to you from my heart. and give you a message of hope that God is with us, and we all made in His image, and we are His hands and His feet to save those babies. We are on front lines between life and death, darkness and light. Recently, I heard the phrase, "In good time, store the resilience so it would last you through the storm." Believe that if it's on your plate, you can take it, you can handle it. Stop doubting your strength and testing God's grace. Just do it. In Sally, we call Save a Life International, we call it Sally. We are guided by 3 words: sanctity of life, women's dignity, and love. And I want to conclude with the words of my favorite theologian, C.S. Lewis. Love may challenge and love may correct, but love will never shame. Love may call us out to uncomfortable places, but love will never cast us aside. Love may demand, but will never demean. Love will never ask us to dim our light lest we shine too brightly. Love will never ask us to be less than we were created to be. By this we know God. By this we follow Jesus. By this we serve one another. Thank you. God bless you all.